Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel for another Draw With Me style tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a seamless carousel post. We all know that Instagram is pushing Reels at the moment, and that by creating Reels and short video content, our content has a higher chance of being shown to our followers and also being discovered by new followers through the Explore page. But what you might not know is that carousel posts have the same power, maybe not as strong as Reels, but definitely up there. So if you're someone who likes creating static content and want to continue mixing that into your content, I highly recommend that you stray away from just single square posts and try creating some carousel posts. Because this weekend is the 31st of October and it's Halloween, I thought it might be fun to give our carousel post a Halloween theme or an autumny theme. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And it will be a really fun way for you maybe to reshare your photos from celebrations while not having to worry about too much of it being a flat, static post that Instagram doesn't like. I usually use a 2 or 3 swipe carousel. I'm going to show you how to do a 3 swipe one because this is just slightly more effective. But basically what you need to do is set up your canvas to be the size of 3 Instagram squares. So for example, here is my 3 swipe carousel. You can see that the width is 6,000 pixels and the height is 2,000 pixels. So a regular square post would obviously be 2000 by 2000, and I've just multiplied my width by 3 for this to create a 3 swipe carousel post. Obviously a 2 swipe carousel post follows the same rules where I have it 4000 by 2000. So when we open it up, we get a really long canvas. So we're going to work on our carousel post as one canvas, and we're not going to worry about cropping or chopping until we get to the very end. Something that helps me when it comes to positioning things on my carousel post, especially if I'm aiming for a seamless one, where I actually want things to end up between the different slides of the carousel, is by adjusting my grid lines to show me where the crop is going to end up roughly. So what I've done here for my canvas size, I've turned my grid lines up to 1022 pixels, and that has now sectioned this canvas into 3 squares. So I can roughly see that anything placed in this section is going to be on the first swipe of the carousel, on the first slide. Anything in this section will be on the second slide, and anything in this section will be on the third slide. So obviously anything that I place along the lines that separate these, so I'm just going to quickly sketch that out so you can see a little bit clearer. To make my carousel a little bit more interesting and something that my audience has a higher chance of swiping through, I'm actually going to work to position objects on those joints of the carousel. And because I'm going to set it up in such a way that the crop will become seamless, this isn't going to actually affect my illustrations or the photos that I put in there, because when I add it to Instagram, as people slide through, it's going to look like one continuous piece. So let's get started with the drawing. I'm going to set the background. I'm going to be like a little bit outside the box as to what I normally do. And I'm going to set the background to be this dark gray because it's going to be spooky. This isn't a color that I normally use on my grid, but I'm feeling like experimenting a little bit today. So this is going to be my background, and it's going to give me a really nice space to work on and use some nice pastel colors on top. Now I want to create a carousel post where I can share photos from Halloween or autumn with my audience. And so what I want to do is to create a carousel post that looks like a gallery wall with a collection of like funky frames that I can put my photographs inside. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to sketch out using white because I'm working on a dark background, and also making sure it's on a new layer. I'm going to sketch out the shapes of my frames. 4 different shaped frames. I've got a circle, a square, an oval, and a rectangle, and I've tried to give them kind of an antique-y look. And I'm actually really loving this pencil sketch look on top of the dark background. So more than likely when I do my line art, I'm gonna keep some of this original sketch work as well. I sketched each one on its own layer. Even though they're my sketches, I'm still going to keep them on a separate layer. And the reason for that is that my next step now is going to be resizing them and maybe even duplicating some of them so that I can add some more frames across this space. Obviously, if you wanted to keep it as just 4 frames, you could absolutely do that. Even just as it is, it's quite a nice layout, but I would like to kind of resize some of them, duplicate them, and really create like this gallery wall effect that people can scroll through and see lots of different photos on. With the layout of my sketched frames and the sizing of them, I'm gonna merge them into one layer. As I was laying this out, I paid attention to make sure that within each slide of the carousel there is one full frame, but also one frame that's going to fall into the other slide, and this is going to give us a really nice effect as people slide through the carousel. So the next thing that I'm going to start doing is creating the line art. I'm going to reduce the opacity of my sketch lines, and I'm going to start adding in the line art. The first part of the line art that I'm going to create is I'm going to create the silhouettes of each frame that will become the clipping masks for my photos. This will make more sense when I start to add in photos. But what I'm going to do is add a new layer on top of the frame sketches, and I'm going to create a block of color that is the size of each photo frame where the photo will go. Okay, on top of my block shapes where my photos are going to be clipped onto, I'm going to create the line art and details for the frames. It's really important that this is done on a new layer. You can create a separate layer for each frame if you want to, but I'm probably going to just illustrate them all onto one layer because I've already worked on the layout of where I'm positioning things. Another important thing to remember is to leave the center of your frame empty. It's not so important if you're going to cover parts of these blocky shapes that your photos are going to clip onto, because your photos are going to be sandwiched in between these clipping mask layers and the frame outlines that we're going to create. So let's go. Okay, now that I have done the line art for all of my frames and added some color, I also added some star details in the background, and because I'm doing a Halloween themed carousel, I added some cobwebs and a little spider character as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn back on my clipping mask layer, which is underneath all of my frames down here. So it's in a layer behind, and I'm going to add a new layer on top of that, which I'm going to change to a clipping mask. Into this layer, I'm going to insert a photo. So what's going to happen, because it's a clipping mask, is that it's going to clip to those shapes that we created under the frame. So we can resize our photo to fit into whichever frame that we want. Because we're on the photo layer, we can erase the parts of the photo that we don't want seen in other frames, like this. And then we can actually merge it down onto that clipping mask layer. And we can repeat that process to add a photo to each of the frames. I'm pretty happy with mine as it is now, so I'm gonna go ahead and export it and show you how you can upload it to Instagram in a way that it remains a seamless carousel. So we're going to go back to our gallery. We're going to swipe over to share as a JPEG and save it to our camera roll. We're going to do this 3 times because this carousel has 3 slides in it. Now we're going to go on over to Instagram and we're going to click to create a new post. At the top of my camera roll here, it's showing me my carousel post 3 times exactly the same. So here's how you make it seamless. You tap on the first version of it inside in your gallery and you slide along without zooming or cropping right as far to the left as you possibly can go and let go. You're going to tap to say that you're creating multiple slides and you're going to click on the second version and do nothing because Instagram will automatically center that photo. Then we're going to click on the third version of it and we're going to slide all the way as far as we can to the right. Again, without pinching to zoom or resize. When we go next, it's going to show us each slide of our carousel as an individual square. But when we go to the next page where we add our caption and our details, we can tap to preview our post. And when we tap to preview our post here, we can slide across and see that there is no visible seam. There's no visible seam where we have the different slides. And there you go, a seamless carousel post for Instagram. That's really unique and a fun way to share your photographs. If you liked this video and found it helpful, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. And you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you want and turn on notifications so you receive updates when new videos go live. If you got any questions about creating carousel posts, if you want to know about how to make maybe more slides in your carousel or anything else, just leave me a comment down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. And that's all from me today. I will see you again really soon.